Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our MESAT Bulletin, and we shall start with our headlines. Search for bodies at Indian train crash site ends with 146 dead. Suicide bomber kills 28 in Shiite mosque in Afghanistan. And moving on to our details, starting with India's deadly accident. The death toll from India's worst train accident in years rose to 146 on Monday after rescuers used cranes to lift the last of the twisted metal wreckage to check for bodies underneath. About 2,000 workers were clearing the tracks and checking for damage through the rail line in hopes of resuming traffic through one of India's busiest railway junctions by Monday evening, according to what officials said. From another perspective, the government promised to punish anyone found responsible for the accident. Moreover, health officials said 116 of the victims had been identified, adding roughly 226 people were hurt, including 76 with serious injuries. Onto the Syrian profile, Turkey's president has called on the United States and other nations to reassess his country's proposal for the creation of a no-fly zone in northern Syria. Addressing a NATO Parliamentary Assembly meeting in Istanbul on Monday, Recep Tayyip Erdogan again criticized allies' reliance on Syrian Kurdish fighters to battle the Islamic State group. Erdogan said, "I hope that in the upcoming process this will be reassessed, especially by the United States, and positive steps will be taken so that terrorism's back is broken and Turkey is rid of the threat of terrorism." On to Sanaa's crisis, the spokesman of the Saudi-led coalition battling Yemen's Shiite rebels says there will be no extension to the 48-hour ceasefire, which neither of the two warring sides observed. The spokesman told Al Arabiya Network on Monday that the ceasefire won't be extended, though the coalition declared the truce on Saturday, but fighting has not stopped along any of Yemen's front lines. Clashes have been especially intense in the war-torn western city of Taiz. Moreover, the coalition resumed airstrikes on Monday in the capital Sana'a, the eastern cities of Ma'rib and Jawf, and the northern border area of Maydi. In Libya, a car bombing in the heart of the eastern city of Benghazi has killed 2 people and wounded 17. Medical officials said a car laden with explosives detonated in the hospital's parking lot on Monday, adding that the death toll is expected to rise as several of the wounded are in critical condition. From another perspective, it's the third attack targeting the hospital this year. Meanwhile, Benghazi has been the scene of more than 2 years of fighting between forces loyal to renegade military commander Khalifa Haftar and Islamic militants, including an Islamic State affiliate. In Kabul, a suicide bomber killed at least 28 people inside a Shiite mosque in the Afghan capital. The spokesman for the Public Health Ministry said on Monday that at least 45 others were wounded in the attack, while at least 1 small child is among the dead. From another aspect, security officials said the attacker detonated his suicide vest among the crowds inside the Bakr al-Ulum mosque in western Kabul. The attack took place on the first floor of the 2-story building where Shiite worshippers had gathered to commemorate the death of Imam Hussein. And going to Africa, Japanese peacekeepers with a broader mandate to use force landed in South Sudan on Monday, the first overseas deployment of the country's troops with those expanded powers in nearly 70 years. The squad leader stepped off the plane at the head of the Japanese group. He was greeted and shook hands with Japan's ambassador to South Sudan. From another perspective, the 350 self-defense forces will replace a previous contingent of Japanese peacekeepers who served in the United Nations mission in South Sudan, but did not have mandate to use force. The new troops will be tasked with engineering and construction in the capital, Juba. On the other side of the world, French anti-terrorism police have arrested 7 people in Strasbourg and Marseille. The Interior Minister announced on Monday, saying authorities averted a new potential attack. Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said the raids were linked to a series of arrests in June during the European Championship soccer tournament that was held in cities across France. Cazeneuve also said the arrests on Sunday in Strasbourg and Marseille allowed us to thwart a terrorist act that had been envisaged for a long time on our soil. He added, the suspects are French, Moroccan and Afghan and are between 29 and 37 years old. Meanwhile, in the United States, tension flared anew on the Dakota Access Pipeline as protesters tried to push past a long-blocked bridge on a state highway, only to be turned back by a line of law enforcement using water cannon and tear gas. Sunday's skirmishes began around 6 p.m. after protesters removed a burned-out truck on what's known as the Backwater Bridge. The Morton County Sheriff's Department said law enforcement officers had rocks thrown at them, burning logs, and rocks shot from slingshots, and that one officer had been hit on the head by a thrown rock, while at least one person was arrested. And finally, our economic news. European stock markets eked out some modest gains on Monday as oil prices pushed higher amid hopes of an upcoming production cut deal from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. In Europe, Germany's DAX was up 0.3% at 10,700, while France CAC 40 index rose 0.5% to 4,526. US stocks were poised for modest gains with the futures and the broader S&P 500 futures up 0.2%. Meanwhile, oil prices were buoyed in markets. Benchmark New York crude was up 91 cents or 1.9% at $47.25 a barrel, while Brent crude rose 96 cents or 2.1% to $47.82. And before ending our news, let's take another look at the most important headlines for today. Search for bodies at Indian train crash site ends with 146 dead. Suicide bomber kills 28 in Shiite mosque in Afghanistan. And we reached the end of our Misaad Bulletin for today. Thank you for joining us and see you tomorrow in a new bulletin.